So in this video, I'm going to attempt to see if we can discover any of these spirits that I've been speaking about. See if we can recognize them. Now, of course, there are spirits very easily recognized and spirits that we'd very readily accept as being alien to us, not particularly the sort of creature that we would readily accept, but we would accept them in certain circumstances. And it's very much like accepting and recognising certain facets of our shadow. So the easiest one is the spirit of anger. When we have a spirit of anger and we act uncharacteristically, we fly off into a rage, and then people around us are shocked, and we can say to ourselves, wow, I don't know what came over me. Where did that come from? Didn't see that coming. Those sort of things. Now, of course, levels of anger like that would come about in most people when they are very, very greatly compromised, and maybe when they've had a lot of shit going down and they're at the end of their tether. The other one, of course, which everybody would readily accept, is if we are inebriated in some shape or form, usually with alcohol, which clouds our vision, and we can have entities completely take over. They completely usurp whatever spirit was at the helm up till that point. And how many times have we heard that I just saw red? And when people speak about when they get angry and things go black or it goes red, we have to know we're dealing with very dangerous people, potentially. And of course, lots of these people have committed heinous crimes, and they would say that per se they are not responsible. The devil made me do it. Something came over me. I was quite out of sorts. All this sort of thing. And I think that's a very fair appraisal, because under normal circumstances we wouldn't act like that. And I think we can attribute that across the board, save for very sick people. But generally, we've all had experiences to a more or less degree whereby we have for a while lost control and we've acted in a way that was most regrettable. So who did that? If when we are completely compos mentis and we are in a full level of acceptance of us being us, yeah, this is me. That wasn't me. That guy, I don't know who that guy was. Oh, praise God he doesn't come back again. Yeah, but he's always there. He has to be. And this is why it is well renowned that evil runs through the heart of every man. Because the potential is always there. And even in the most meek and humble, you know, probably lots of us we've read stories and, you know, seen crime documentaries about the wife which was beaten and bullied and manipulated at the end of her tether, and so she did some shit one night, you know, with a kitchen knife or an axe or a gun, something like that. Under normal circumstances, this woman was a beautiful woman, but we reach a certain point whereby something else takes over. And you can see in certain circumstances that this thing that takes over is acting for the better as far as it can see, when it carries out its actions. For instance, if you are a child that's being abused constantly by someone, and you've found the strength, or something finds the strength, a spirit finds the strength to take a knife or a gun and to end it. Well, that spirit did it for your protection. It did it protect the other spirits within you which weren't strong enough to be able to deal with it. And so these entities are not all bad, are they? When we have entities like this and they kill mindlessly, well, of course, they are pure evil. But I would think that we need to look carefully at the actions, and of course this is why we have courts of law, so we can offer mitigation for our crimes, and then we can have a compassionate sentence reduced from murder to manslaughter, which carries a much lesser penalty. So when we look at what we think we are, I think it's really naive and lazy just to think that, oh, we're just human beings and we do shit. You see, philosophers, thinking people, psychoanalysts, these sort of people, they all look for other reasons. And within the realm of psychology and psychiatry, they're very bound by restrictions of their fraternity, and they could never ever start diagnosing something which was spiritual. See, Carl Jung, he was a psychiatrist, and he was dealing with very, very sick people. He worked for many years in mental institutions, and so that's why his outlook on life, one of the reasons, was very different from Sigmund Freud. And so he'd seen lots of varieties and states of consciousness, and he'd engaged with these people, and they said very, very bizarre and peculiar things to him. And these bizarre and peculiar things, he later discovered, were things that were quite renowned in the esoteric realms and had been written about hundreds of years before, and they were a phenomenon in their own right. And so this is where Carl Jung started to form his collective unconscious, stating that we are all capable, to a more or lesser degree, of tapping into collective consciousness en masse and receiving downloads. And so then from there it's only a small step into the paranormal of the Akasha and the spiritual realm. They're only just a small stepping stone away from one another, people. Sigmund Freud wasn't going there in any shape or form. He was keeping absolutely, completely and utterly grounded, because he founded the Psychoanalytical Society, and it was absolutely imperative that he steered clear from all of the woo-woo which was going around at that time, with moving tables and, you know, seances and studying of Helena Petrova Blavatsky's work and other people's, you know, spiritual dimension and all that sort of thing. Jung went very, very deeply into that, and Freud steered very clearly away from it. Who was the greatest asset to us? By no short measure, it was Carl Jung, because Carl Jung is quoted so often these days and so respected, whereas Freud barely gets a mention, because all of his stuff about, you know, everything being premised in sexuality and the limited agencies of the ego and the superego, it's all too limited. We've evolved now in this past 100 years, and so more and more Carl Jung's work is being greatly appreciated and analysed, studied. So when we look into this human thing, most people will accept that we have a soul or a spirit. If you are versed in biblical scripture, then you will discern the difference between the soul and the spirit. If you are not religious, then you probably interchange those, and so you wouldn't know the difference. But there is a difference, and the difference is vast. And I've spoken about that in many other videos, and I wrote about it in the book. So I'm not going to be writing pages and pages in the comments. And if any of you want to know, oh, why this and why that, I'll just point you to the book, because most of it's in the book. The stuff I've been speaking about for a long time is 14 years of my personal spiritual development in that book, people. And anything that's been, even marginally important has been compiled and grouped together into a final analysis in that book. And there are many excerpts from some of the greatest thinkers on the planet. And the reason why I include those is because they lay a foundation to what I will go on to speak about. Because if I'm speaking about this wacky far out stuff and none of you guys have been awoken to the reality of it via other great thinking people, then you very easily dismiss it. So I lay the foundation of these great thinking people, and then I tell you what my experience was in relation to what they said. So, when we do things, we do it because we have drivers. What are the drivers? What is it that takes us around the world? What is it that gives us the design and desire that we want to become a world-class warrior? For instance, with me, from the first time I saw a Bruce Lee movie or a David Carradine series, I knew that is what I wanted to do. At least one of the spirits in me wanted to do that. The first time I heard an Elvis song, Beatles song, Cliff Richard song, when I was very young, I knew I wanted to do that. And so I took up guitar and I took up singing, and to a degree I can do it. But of course there are levels. And when I'm studying my singing tuition course, one of the major things that is always imparted is don't try to sing like anybody else, at least until you become a proficient singer in your own voice, with your own range, in your own best suited genre. But for years what I've been trying to do, I've been trying to sing like Buddy Holly, like Eddie Cochran, like John Lennon, like Elvis. And of course I could never come remotely close to singing like those people. So the songs always sounded crap. But now I've resigned myself to singing in my own voice. And this singing instructor, he says the vast majority of people can't stand their own voice. And I remember reading an Elvis book not long after he died, written by members of his family, his stepbrothers and things like that. And it was reputed that Elvis couldn't stand his own voice. He couldn't even stand watching himself in his movies. He reckoned he spoke like a machine gun, much too fast, and he just didn't like anything about it. And so he could barely even listen to his own songs. And how many artists are in actual fact like that? They won't watch themselves. Johnny Depp was once asked at one of these Oscar presentation things, and it was the one with Ricky Gervais, and it was about the movie he was in with Angelina Jolie, was it? Called The Artist or something. And he was asked, have you seen the movie? And he said no. And it was a year after, and Ricky Gervais went, nor was anybody else. So how many of us don't like ourselves? How many of us can't stand ourselves? How many of us drink ourselves into oblivion? How many of us want to take any substance to get away from ourselves? The selves, people. We don't say, do you like yourself? We don't often say that, do we? We very often pluralise it. And it's for a very good reason. And so all these people that want to be something else. I've never wanted to be the body type that I was born with, because I deemed I could do better, and I did do better, and I'm still doing better to this very day. I'm still because I want to, because I'm not happy with the thing that would be without doing that. And then with the education and with the music and with the meditation and all the things I've done in all my life, it's because I've never been happy with the hand that I was given. It was okay. It was a foundation, and it was a reasonable foundation. I was gifted in lots of realms. And one of the comments from one of the last videos, someone says, oh, you say that you're not gifted in any way. Well, I think you're really gifted in doing what you're doing, philosophizing, because he says that he's enjoyed every single one of the videos that I've made, and lots of people have complimented on my ability to do that. And so I've often said that, well, it's not something I've worked on knowingly. It's more like something that's a gift. And so, yeah, I accept it that, some people will consider that a gift, to be able to engage people like I do endlessly, without repeating myself, without pause, without being lost, without failing to make my point, and all these sort of things. It is a skill. And so I have that skill, gift. And, I suppose I've had a very natural ability to fight. I always was a natural fighter, a natural adventurer, and so gifted in lots of ways, and gifted with a level of intelligence and how my mind works and how I can think with both sides of my brain simultaneously, and how I do in actual fact have an internal dialogue, maybe trialogue, rather than not having a dialogue at all. Good God, I'm so blessed, to be fair. But people don't want to hear that you're blessed, and Lord knows, I tell people I express my genius on too many occasions, so I just kind of like to balance things out. I think people like to hear that I'm fucking useless. I'm useless. I can't do anything. I can't. I'm just a mediocre at everything I do. People like that because they feel more comfortable in that realm. They don't feel comfortable with highly intelligent people. They feel really intimidated, or real able-bodied people. When people are great at something, you look at them and you go, fuck, that's fucking unbelievable. And it's kind of like, why are you so great at that? Okay, so you've practiced at it, for however many years, but if I practiced longer than you did, I'd never be even a quarter as good as you. It's just natural ability. It is being gifted, isn't it? How is it that Lennon and McCartney could write such amazing songs, which will be timeless? Their musical compilation was genius, when they never had any musical instruction at all, self-learnt on their own instruments. So there's so much to be observed and pondered over. And when we look at these people, we have to know that they had very, very highly evolved spirits in certain realms. And these spirits are what we would attribute our genius, our prowess to, because when we look at people that are great at things, then they have a natural greatness to them. And it's kind of like if you listen to some of the greatest singers that we've ever known. Well, they were great singers before they even took the first singing lesson. Of course they were. Taking singing lessons just enabled them to craft their profession more, sharpen their tools. And so within no time at all, they shot to the dizziest heights of fame and fortune. So when we look at what triggers, what agencies, what operating mechanisms are doing what in our bodies, what is it that makes us want to drink all the time and we can't give up? What is it that makes us want to smoke? What is it that makes us want to do drugs? What is it that wants us to take anything which gets us into a different level of sobriety? I've known people that will just take anything. Whatever you've got, they'll take it without looking it up, without asking what it does. They just want to take it. And it's kind of like, wow, you're heading for a fall, you are, dude. Just wanting to take anything, just as if it really is a living hell being in their natural state of sobriety. So, when we look deeply at the drivers, we can start to hunt some of them down. And if you have a lazy one, which in all your spare time just makes you want to crash out, you don't even want to get out of your pajamas on any given day, the last thing you're ever going to do is go and work out. You go, what the fuck? Working out? That's for fucking idiots. You don't want to expend any energy in any shape or form. You absolutely begrudge the energy that you do spend with whatever vocation you have to do. You hate the world because of it, because it isn't giving you anything. It's only taking away. What is it taking away? It's taking away your time. It's taking away your vital life force. It's taking away any level of excitement or desire to do anything meaningful, because you just feel so exhausted from it. And so where does this lazy one come from? Do you remember when it came about? Do you recall when you used to be reasonably able-bodied and fit, and then you just got fatter and fatter and more unfit, and you went into a state of mental oblivion whereby you weren't even compos mentis on any of the things that were happening in your life. You just didn't recognise how heavy you was becoming. You never bothered to monitor it. You something vacated. Something decided that they don't want to captain this ship no more, and they have jumped off. They've bailed out. They put the little dinghy down and they went, fuck this, Jack, I'm out of it. And they allowed the waves and the wind and the currents to take them onto another destination. They didn't care where it was. They knew that they just didn't want to be captain of that ship. And so if the captain's gone, then what happens? Somebody else usurps and takes position. And of course this is what mutinies are all about. Usurping the captain because they deem that his actions are putting them in jeopardy. So if our main driving force, our captain, absconds, then leaves the ship to other spirits, who's going to take over? The most dominant? Is it the drinker? Is it the druggie? Is it the lazy person? Is it the liar, the thief, the canaille? Why the cat's away, the mice will play. Who is going to step up to take hold of the helm? In our lives, people, if we have given our lives any thought, we can see where these things have happened. We can see where the helm has exchanged hands. And in my life, I have worn many hats, I've done many jobs, I've been many people. And for instance, it's just kind of like when I'm on my travels, having the opportunity to, let's say, making the opportunity to work in the gold mines. Well, when I made that opportunity for myself to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week in these Australian gold mines, well, I became the sort of person that works in those mines. And I worked in 3 departments in those mines, and I became one of those people. 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, it was my life. And the only thing I did outside of that was eat, before I went to bed, and then get up and do it again, because at that time, myself and the mother of my daughter, who wasn't born yet, we were trying to get some good money in, so we could come back to England and buy all the relevant things that we needed for our child. And so then there was another occasion whereby I became a scuba diver instructor. I just decided that was like a good job. I think I'll like that life. I lived on the boat and I was teaching, beautiful young people, mostly from Scandinavia, how to scuba dive, and I was living that life. And all of a sudden, I had a recollection. Wow, how did I get here? When all the diving's done and you're coming back on the boat trip is about an hour, and I'm sitting on top of the boat looking down at the beautiful girls on the front of the boat, which is an everyday thing, and the sun was beaming down and I was bronzed and fit, and I'm like, wow, this is something. Then I would relate it back to my life in the UK, where it was cold, miserable, raining, and I was working in some shipbuilding job, where it was exhausting, it was dirty, it was, hard labour, people, hard labour. And albeit I've always loved hard labour in my life, it was a very, very pleasant change when I got just to teach scuba diving to beautiful girls. Wow. And so, we look at the spirits that take over, we look at the spirits that take us there, we look at the spirits that take us away. We look at the spirits that throw a spanner in the works, throw a fire in the hole, and destroy things. Like they destroy relationships, they destroy jobs. These spirits will destroy all different sorts of things. And you have the feel for one of my alter egos, Supercilious. Supercilious can destroy anything. He can turn anything into dust. He is King Midas in reverse. And if anybody puts any comments down, the Supercilious doesn't like, he can tear a new arsehole in everybody. He can just destroy everything like a Tasmanian devil, spinning round, round, and round in the fury of chaos. That's what Supercilious' potential is, but over the years I've made lots of modifications, and he isn't like anything as destructive as he could be, and mostly now he is a utility. And so if we have these alter egos, these spirits, that we know how they operate, we know when they come about, we sense them in an instant when they come about, because we've monitored them and we know what they feel like, we're not taken by surprise. And we have to be very, very conscious if we ever want to evict these spirits. They can be evicted over time by just not giving them any energy, because people, they either do leave the body, or they become so emaciated, so depleted of energy that they no longer have any power. And whenever they do try to raise their ugly heads, it's so weak because the rest of the spirits have took mastery over that spirit, and they have sacked the spirit over many months or years. And so if we look at the varying energies, personality traits, spirits, people, spirits. You see, if we start to accept that they are in actual fact spirits, we would learn so much more. We'd learn so much more. We'd go into another dimension of human psychology, and we would be in the realm where we should have been a long, long time ago, which is halfway between the physical and the metaphysical. We have been discounting and giving no credit to the metaphysical for so long that we're on the point of absurdity, because we can't make any more advances. We've come to an impasse because scientists don't want to accept that consciousness is at the helm, consciousness is key, consciousness is everything. They have been acting as if consciousness wasn't even in the equation. Like consciousness was the elephant in the room. It's like everything they were doing didn't pertain to consciousness. It's kind of like, what the fuck? They considered that they could take mastery over the world without giving the just due to consciousness. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like if anyone discounts God, well, you discount God at your own peril, because you will only ever reach a certain elevation in life by doing that. Because when you discount God, you discount yourself. You discount the very, very root and essence of what you are. You discount God consciousness. You discount the entirety of the intelligence behind everything. And more now, physicists, scientists are being confronted with they will go no further unless they start to embrace the supernatural. Because this realm is supernatural. And all these experiences and discoveries that they've had in quantum physics, they can no longer deny the supernatural nature of the cosmos. And so we're at a very profound point in the evolution of the human being, because we're at a crossroads. And the question is, are we going to embrace the supernatural, or are we going to continue to deny it? If we continue to deny it, we will make no more advances. And so, just to finish up this video then, people, it's a question of looking at all of the things you do. Why you like to play golf, why you like to watch football, why you like a certain variety of dress. Every single thing that you do, there is a reason behind it, and the reason pertains to spirit. There was a song in the 60s, it was called Dandy, and it was by the Kinks. And it was about a very flamboyant butterfly of a young man, and always dressed very dandy, which was a word in the 60s, and always fluttering around the ladies and living a pretense and highly governed by this spirit that wanted to express how dandy it felt. Just a persona. But then many of these personas with age, we grow out of them, you see. And so look back in your years and see what spirits used to be acquainted with you and now they are not, and ask why that is. And you'll say, oh, I've got older now, oh, situations have changed now, oh, I'm married now. Well, that's just the superficial stuff. Why are you married? Why have things changed? When you look into all those circumstances, you can see that other spirits took hold of the helm. And the transition between being a youngster and a more mature, responsible person, then a responsible agent takes the helm and deploys a worker and a nest builder and a parent and all these sorts of characters. They're all spirits, people. They're all personas, and they all manifest at certain times. And I said in the previous video, do you remember, you must remember, the day you became a parent. The day you became a parent and you held that little creature, you fucking changed. Something entered into your life which was a carer. And there was nothing that was going to get in the way of that carer for most people. Most parents would die for their children. And so these carers, they are very, very powerful spirits. But of course, they wane when the child becomes of age and they, in their own right, have to protect and look out for themselves. Then as parent spirits, we have to recede. It's a natural thing. The spirit has to recede. If the parenting spirit doesn't recede, then it keeps the children wrapped up in cotton wool. It doesn't want them to leave the home. It doesn't want them to have partners. How many women do we know that hold on so dearly to their sons? How many women are so jealous of their daughters? Isn't that a phenomenon? Yes, because it's to do with the interchanging of spirits. So give this concept, this discourse, some thought, and see if you can express yourselves a little bit in relation to what I'm saying, because invariably nobody ever is on point with what I'm saying. You knee-jerk reaction, you'll put some shit down which will have little relevance to the crux of what I'm saying. What I'm saying here is, people, have you recognized the spirits within you? Have you recognized when they came and when they went? And do you have a good or bad relationship with the ones that are present now?